Mr. Biren will start right now. All right. Requesting
sure.
all the participants. All right, great, sir. Requesting all the participants to turn on their videos for a better clarity of the picture event. Let's start right now. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Sonali Dubedi, Alumni Relations Lead from Jaro Education. So, Jaro Education is India's most trusted online higher education company, founded in the year 2009, where we have transformed careers more than 350,000. We partner with top institutes nationally and globally like Wharton, IIMs, and IITs. So we are glad to brief you about our partnerships, and Jaro Connect portal plus applications, which is available on Android as well as iOS. The Jaro Connect portal is one-stop destination for students and has various benefits like job opportunities, networking with peers, free bootcamps, and webinars. Today, we are glad to introduce Mr. Biren Parekh, a distinguished leader and director at CRISIL Limited, recognized as one of the top 25 thinkers on project management for April 2022. He brings over 26 years of invaluable experience and extensive expertise in managing complex BFSI digital transformation programs for global banks. As a renowned guest speaker at prestigious conferences and business schools, Mr. Parekh shares his insights on project management, digital transformation, and many more. We are honored to have Mr. Parekh join us today. Let's commence the session, requesting all the learners to post queries in chat box. I would hereby request Mr. Biren Parekh to take the sessions ahead.
Thank you, Sonali.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are joining. I hope am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay, great. I'm just sharing my screen. Just give me a minute. I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes, sir, you're totally visible.
Okay, great. Welcome all. So today we'll go through the basics of the project management and give you an idea about what is project management, why it is important, what are the different phases of project management, and what are the little bit nuances of that. Project management is actually a vast field or vast area. So within 1 hour, 1.5 hours, we can just touch upon the even I think surface of the field. So let's start. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to mention that whatever views are mentioned over here are purely my personal views and does not represent my employer. So anything is not related to my employer. It is purely my personal views, personal experience. And remaining thing, as I've mentioned, the humor is not to derogate anyone, any particular community, role, skill set, anything. Some of the pictures which are available on the public domain, so those are not a violation of IP rights. And the presentation does not mean to prove that any of the methodologies are good, bad, or ugly. Okay, so and no confidential information has been shared or disclosed into this presentation. Okay, so let's go through the agenda. So these are the 5 areas we'll go through it. I'm assuming that most of you are new to the project management and would like to understand what the project management is and what are the different nuances of it. So we'll touch upon the basics about project and project management. We'll also cover the project life cycle. We'll have a sort of overall project canvas, maybe from the, I'll say from the outsider perspective, or I'll say purely from the non-project management field perspective. We'll also touch upon Agile. So Agile is one of the methodology which is very popular nowadays. While it is not actually project management, but whenever you talk about project management, we talk about Agile also. And we'll just also briefly touch upon the project management certifications. Okay, so these are the areas with various areas we'll touch upon. So before I proceed further, I'll just like to maybe mention that now, if you feel that I'm going too fast or too slow, please mention that. Sonali, Rupali, please note that and maybe just interrupt wherever possible.
Sure, sir.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so we'll touch upon the basically project economy. So nowadays, as we all know, uh, we always keep hearing there is a project which is happening, that project, different kind of projects we hear. So what exactly is happening? So basically, it is actually world is nowadays driven by the project economy. So in the earlier days, that is maybe a few decades back, it was more of a operations. It was a more that now organizations were more into running the operations and less into executing the project. But slowly over past few decades, the focus has been more on the efficiency. And because of that, now it's like all the organizations are trying to implement some or other kind of change, okay, which will improve the efficiency, improve the productivity, and maybe make consumers' life better. And hence, if you see, this is the way the project's economy is growing year over year. And we are somewhere here, we can say that, and slowly we should see that now more and more projects will be there and more demand will be there for the project. Some of the slides which I have mentioned over here, those has been picked up from some of the public domain slides like Antonio Rodriguez or some of the top thinkers. So just understand that those are some of the slides. Okay, so let's touch upon that. What is a project? So project is basically a unique product, service, or result. Okay, so just remember, it's something very unique. It is a service or something, some outcome. Okay, and normally project is a temporary endeavor. Project cannot be ongoing for a long duration. It needs to have a specific start time and specific end time. And always at the end of project, there is some change. So when I say change, there is some outcome, there is some result which is there, which will change the way things are happening previously. Okay, so whether it is a building a bridge or maybe a launching a Chandrayaan, or whether it is a even maybe having this webinar. Okay, so that's a project for in each of these cases. Project, obviously, I mean, why project will be kicked off? Why? Because there is a sort of a business value which will be created at the end of the project. Otherwise, why one will do the project, right? It will be like just wastage of money, right? You just want to spend something, you just start something, and then you spend the money, you give the money to whoever are participating in the project, and then forget about the outcome. You will not ask about the outcome. Okay, so that is not the case. Projects ensures that there is a business value at the end of the project. It also has some of the unknown elements. Okay, so there will be a sort of a, I mean, you cannot have a project which is perfectly like known, 100% known. There will be some amount of unknown elements which will cause or create a risk. And obviously, as a part of a project management, you will also see that now this risk is taken care of. Okay, so this is a sort of a project in nutshell. Now, as I said, it is a beginning and end. There is a sort of some clear outcome which is there. If outcome is not there, then it is not a project. Okay, and there has to be a sort of a some level of quality which has to be committed. Okay, so when I say if I'm building the road, okay, or building the bridge, then I'm expecting that bridge will last for whatever 20 years, 30 years, right? I cannot say that I have built the bridge and within 6 months it will crash or it will come down. We have heard that recently some of the bridges are collapsing, right? Why? Because the project has not been executed properly, or rather all the parameters has not been defined that what is expected. And obviously this comes at a cost. So you cannot have a sort of an unlimited budget now to execute the project. It has to be a sort of a specific amount of budget which will be there to execute the project, and it has to be done within a specific time and as per particular scope, kind of a thing, right? You cannot have a bridge which will just be halfway through only. Okay, you said I have adjusted budget and my bridge is built only half only and it is done, but that half is particularly fine, the quality is very good. No, that is not a project, or that is not expected, right? At the end of it, you expect that within whatever prescribed time, the kind of a scope and the particular quality, and within that budget, the project is executed. So this 4 dimension, always you have to remember: scope, time, cost, quality. Okay. So if I go by definition, it is a sort of a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. Okay. So in project management, there's a sort of these 4 parameters are very important, and it is sort of called a golden triangle, or I'll say triple constraint triangle. Okay, so if you tweak any of this parameter, if you stretch any of this parameter, it will have impact on remaining things. Okay, so say for example, if you cut down the cost, then your quality will suffer. Okay, if you cut down the scope, I guess obviously again it may not be useful. If you stretch stretch beyond the stipulated time, then obviously that may not make sense, right? I mean, for example, we know that now during Corona time, the vaccine was developed, and it was developed in a record time in the history of the mankind. It was done within a whatever 9 to 10 months. Now imagine earlier every vaccine used to take 10 years. So imagine if it was going to take a 10 years, then what would have happened, right? So basically, there's a very important triangle, or I'll say a constraint triangle, that now you have to manage the project within these three parameters, these three areas, and then only you'll be able to achieve the required quality. Okay, so always remember this, that now if whether you are not compromising on any of these aspects, okay, if you're able to manage it everything as per this, then your project is ideal, and then it is called a sort of a perfect project management. Obviously in the practical life it is not always possible to have not the perfect project management, or maybe everything done within the stipulated time and within stipulated cost or whatever. Yeah, but there will be a little bit variation which is acceptable. So like 5%, 10% variation on either of this is acceptable, and that actually also budgeted into the project. So that is a sort of a basic thing which you have to remember. Okay, so why do project get started, right? So I mean, that is one question which we sometimes feel. So this particularly, it started when there is a problem to solve or an opportunity to pursue, right? So problem, as I said, now the coronavirus was there, and then the vaccine that was developed, and it was an opportunity to pursue. All the pharma companies also benefited from it, and also mankind also benefited from it. Similarly, when someone has a business value to an idea, right? So like we already have a NASA and ISRO launching of satellites, but then we have Elon Musk who actually floated the company called SpaceX, and they said, okay, I'll maybe put the satellite in the space in 1/10 of your cost, right? So then that is a business idea, okay, and there is a value to it, profit to it, and that's why that project started or that company started, right? Again, when customer demands change, right? So I mean, we all have been, say for example, doing the banking, we have been going to the branch and doing the banking, but then different kind of channels keep coming up, right? So initially it was a phone banking, then ATMs, then internet banking, then mobile banking, right? So all these new channel actually are coming up because the customer is demanding the change, and that's why the different projects get started. Again, technological change is also one of the reasons whereby technology gets upgraded or new technology is there. So right now, like all of us know that generative AI or ChatGPT is very popular. Now all the companies are trying to see how they can use the ChatGPT into their business, right? So that is a technological change. There's a very disruptive change which is there, and now all the companies have started a project and also working on it to see that now they benefit from it, right? And obviously, legal, regulatory, statutory requirement arises. So time to time, we know the central bank or central government publishes the sort of rules or whatever new legal requirement, and hence now there is a sort of a need to get things done. So for example, like in the recently, the GST has been increased for the online gaming to 28%. So now all the gaming companies has to see that now they have to execute a project whereby now they deduct a 28% GST from whatever money is winning money is there, right? So that is a sort of a different I'll say example about why project gets started. So just some of the areas only, but yeah, obviously there are a lot more, but I'm just trying to give you a sort of an idea that why project gets started. Yeah, so again, this is a sort of examples of a project like installing antivirus, or maybe celebrating some kind of anniversary or birthday, and maybe cloud migration, okay, moving to a new home or whatever, right? So these are the different examples of the project. And I hope you all know that these are the different projects. I mean, you might be knowingly or unknowingly, I'll say that will be executing some kind of a project in your life without knowing it, that yes, this is a project management, you are doing it, but I mean, you never know that, okay, this is also called a project. But now I'm sure at the end of this webinar, at the end of this session, you will be aware that now what is a sort of a project. Okay, so this is one of the very popular, I say cartoon or image which is there. So just to depict that now, basically, see, read it from here to right. Okay. So this says that how the customer explained it, what customer wanted it. Okay. But how the project leader understood it, and how the engineer, okay, engineering team designed it, how the programmer wrote it, okay, the code, how the sales executive described it, okay, how the project was documented. There's nothing which was documented. What operation install, okay, when it went for implementation or installation, it was installed something like this. How the customers build, it was like a huge thing which was there, right? And the how help desk supported it, it assumed that there is nothing over there and they didn't support it at all, I mean, okay. And actually what customer needed was this, okay, just a sort of a wheel tied on the rope, but what was actually how the customer explained it, right? So just see the kind of a sort of a visualization or the perception in mind of different people, okay, that how it actually started and how it was supposed to end it. Okay, so this is just an example, or just I'll say image or cartoon. I'll say that in lighter vein, that now what happens when different people visualize differently, and hence the project management comes in the picture. Okay, why? Because everyone should be on the same page. Everyone should understand what exactly it means and how they have to work towards a common vision or common outcome. Okay, so that is overall objective. Lot of organizations have suffered one project failure in the past 12 months. Okay, many companies don't understand also the need of the project management. Okay, they feel that, okay, you go and get things done. Okay, that's all they will say that. And how you do it, I don't know. You work whatever, 2 people, 3 people, and do it. Okay, sometimes they don't understand and they just say that way. Many times project managers cite that now budget overrun is the reason for project failure. And only successful projects have a very supportive sponsor. So we'll cover some of these aspects, but I'm just trying to say that display some of the facts, okay, that now what is a kind of a numbers which are there, okay, that whatever lack of clear goals and all those things actually result into this. Okay, so now let's get into that. What is a project management? So project management is sort of a knowledge, okay, of your domain. For example, your domain, whether it's IT, pharmaceutical, construction, or whatever skills, whatever you're managing it, tools and techniques, or maybe a project activities. Okay, so it's the application of knowledge, tools and techniques to achieve project objectives. And this typically involves, okay, identifying requirements, addressing stakeholders' needs and expectations, carry out communication among stakeholders so that all of them are on the same page, and take all the stakeholders together with whatever project objective. Okay. And obviously, as I had mentioned, the constraints. So you have to balance the constraints. Okay. You have to see that now constraints are managed, that is time, scope, cost. Those are the main constraints, but only not limited to this. There will be some other constraints also which might be there, like resources will be there, risk will be there. So you have to manage all of this to achieve the common objectives. Okay, so you have to use a particular tools and techniques, which can be software or whatever, I mean, some kind of a resources. Okay, and particularly knowledge of particular application, and accordingly, no, you try to see that the things are achieved in a very structured manner. So guys, basically I am from the banking and I am from the software side. So my examples will more include those kind of examples and case studies. So please bear with me. But basically that is my background, and hence everywhere it will come software or maybe a banking. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I hope so far so good. So now let's move forward. So how are we doing at the time? Yes, it's 11:25. Okay. Okay. So now why one should learn the project management? Okay. So one is that to learn latest concepts and techniques of project management. That is why one should go into project management and learn it to increase your contribution to your company or employer or your own business. Okay. Obviously to have maybe another skill in your kitty. And to also learn a new thought process, okay, that helps you to, I'll say, have a structured approach, okay, structured approach to any I'll say outcome or any objective which you have in your field. Okay, so or in your life. Okay, so I'm saying that it's not only for the professional perspective that you should learn this, but even from the, I'll say, personal perspective also, the project management really helps you to do the structured thinking. Okay, so particularly I'm sure many of you are aware that now you would have undertaken a sort of you have participated in closely into someone's wedding, or maybe your siblings wedding, or whatever, right? So, and you know that, I mean, now what kind of things are required. But if you go through a structured framework, okay, then you will be better able to understand, okay, that how I should execute some of these events, okay, in your personal life. So it is very much important. It's not that now that only people who are project managers should understand this or should learn the project management, but I feel that now each one of us, even the kids, are also supposed to be taught about the project management, because now they need to have that structured thinking. Okay, I mean, very structured thinking, and not the haphazard or ad hoc thinking. That now, as and when things comes, okay, then now you think, now you think. Okay, so it should not be like that, and that really helps to a large extent in your life. Obviously some certification recognition, and obviously job respect. So PMI research, particularly Project Management Institute research, which who actually sort of a pioneer in the project management certificates and the syllabus and the courseware. Okay, so it says a lot of statistics about now why project management fails, and how people feel that now how a project is going to start. And it also says that now, based on the research which they have done, that now there are sort of a huge opportunity for project leaders, okay, across the globe. Okay, and it is there's a statistics is available on the PMI website. You can go to the PMI.org website, and you will come to know. And project economy, the project leadership is seen as a critical, very critical business competence. Is one of the power skills whereby now you should be able to execute the project management in very structured manner. Okay, so on a lighter note, now what happens? Project management, we have heard, we have understood a little bit about it. So what happens when you don't know about the project management? You kick off the project. Okay, there is ambiguity. Okay, immediately there's ambiguity. Then there is a lack of decision making. Then you start adding the features. Okay, feature gets script into your project. Okay, then you start delaying. Then you start pointing fingers, and then you start throwing grenades. Okay, and there is a firefighting. Okay, then there is a review meeting. Then after a while you figure it out that there is a new direction, and then actual work happens. Okay, so without having the, I'll say, structured approach, this is a reality of life. Okay, and I'm sure many of you would have faced this in your whatever professional life, or maybe sometimes even your personal life. Okay, so I'm not saying all, but yeah, I mean, there will be obviously many of us would have faced this kind of problems whereby now you start blaming fingers now to others, or blaming others now, saying that he or she has not done the thing and whatever now supposed to do. Why? Because there was not a good clarity. There was not a communication, okay, which says that now what is supposed to be done, how it is supposed to be done, what was the sort of a cost. Okay, so all those things, I think a lot of things are there. So it's just on a lighter vein, I'll just put the picture. Okay, so now let's get into a little bit more detail into project life cycle. Okay, so we understood, we heard about project, we heard about project management. Now how to do the project management, then that means that there is a sort of a life cycle which is there. Okay, so project life cycle is a sort of a series of phases that project passes through, okay, from start to completion. And there is a sort of a framework for managing the project. Okay, so one needs to understand at a high level that what are the different phases of the project before you even start the project. Okay, so that you should be very clear about it. Now that project, when you are executing the project, whether it's a 1 day project, whether it's a 1 week project, 1 month project, or whether it's a whatever 1 year or multi-year project, but you should be clear that now what exactly it encompasses. Okay, so that is very important thing which most of us misses out in thick of things. I'll say that it's not intentional, it's purely because we are not educated that now what are the different phases or what we should do it. Now I like to I just like to maybe deviate a little bit over here. Okay, so this, whatever I'm trying to cover over here, it is more from the general concept. Okay, now if you, I see that many of you are sort of a PMP certified also. Okay, so PMP is a project management professional certification. Okay. Now, project management, when you try to do the project management certification, there is a sort of a different thing which is there. Okay. So while I'm trying to cover very traditional or the basic model about project management and project life cycle, but nowadays, okay, the project management certification, okay, that involves lot more different things, lot more nuances into it. Okay, so just keep it in mind, keep that in mind. It's not that now I don't want to cover that, but that involves a lot of nuances which I cannot cover into a sort of a 1 hour. Okay, so just keep that in mind. It is more a very high level and very sort of a overall understanding which I'm trying to give from the traditional perspective, but otherwise it involves a lot more details which I cannot cover or I can't make all of you understand, because I'm assuming that whatever 60-70% of you are maybe going through this session or maybe understanding the project management for the first time. Okay. Okay, so project life cycle. So let's try to understand. So at high level, these are the 5 phases which are there. Okay, so very first phase is the initiate phase. Okay, so what we do in this phase is we define the what is a new project. It can be even the new phase of an existing project. Okay, so there can be a one big project, but it is executed into multiple phases. We know, like, right, I mean, many of our cities, I mean, the metro which is coming up, then it is being executed into multiple phases. So in whatever period, whatever short period, they will try to open the metro in that particular one area, one point A to point B, and then for the point B to point C will be done in the second phase, right, or maybe third phase, whatever, right? So basically, this is sort of an initiate phase of the totally new project, or maybe a new phase of an existing project. Okay, so that's how that's the initiate phase. We'll go a little more detail into it, but I'm just first of all giving you a high level structure. Okay, then what do? Then you do the planning. Okay, so you figure out, I mean, in the initiate phase, you would have at high level, you have written down the scope. Okay, now in the planning phase, you will try to figure out that what is the scope of the project. Okay, you will refine your objectives. You will define the course of action required to attain that objectives. Okay, and how to undertake the project. Okay, so you will do a kind of a planning in this second phase. Okay, so in initial phase, you just at high level, you figure out, okay, what is my project charter and what is a high level my objective. In the second, you will go into depth. Okay, you will try to prepare the plan for each of the areas. You will figure it out, what are my detailed objectives. Okay, and what is required to do to require these objectives. So that is what is required as a part of a planning phase. Okay, now comes the main phase, which is the execute phase. Okay, in this phase, you will actually complete the work, okay, defining the project management plan. So in the planning phase, you have prepared the project management plan. Okay, and here you will try to execute it as per that plan. Okay, you would have said that, okay, how I'm going to do it. In the day 1, I'm going to do this, day 2, I'm going to do other thing, day 3, whatever, third thing, right? So in the planning, you would have listed down all this thing in that manner, and in the execute phase, you will actually start executing those things. Okay, so that is a very crux of it. I mean, this is where the execution happens, but I'll say that very important is planning phase. Okay, planning phase is when you will actually do the planning. So if you have not done the proper planning, your execution is going to go for a toss, or maybe it will not give any good result. Okay, monitoring and controlling. So that's the next phase. So next phase, while I have said sequentially, okay, but monitoring and controlling is actually span over the whatever plan and execute phase. Okay, here you will continuously track and review, okay, whatever progress we have done. So you have prepared the project plan. Okay, you said that on the day 1, I'm going to complete this thing. Now in the monitoring and control phase, you will speak at the end of day 1, you will try to figure out whether I have completed the day which I'm supposed to do on the day 1 or not. Okay, I say that no, there is only half work which is done, which was supposed to be done on the day 1. Okay, so now that means on the day 2, either I have to maybe complete the pending work of day 1 also. Okay, or maybe spill it over and see that now I complete the pending work of day 1 into day 3. Okay, so that is a kind of a monitoring and controlling. Okay, so whereby you try to fine tune your plan. You try to identify that now where there is a lag which is there and what I need to do. Okay. Understood. So basically monitoring and controlling is whereby you will go and try to figure out that my whether execution is on track or not. And if not, then whether I need to again do the replanning. Okay. So this 2, 3, and 4 will be sort of a iterative thing. Okay. While you keep executing it, but at the same time, you will keep the monitoring and you keep monitoring the project, and then you keep doing the replanning, and then you keep executing it. Okay. So that is how this monitoring controlling phase works. While I have shown it as a sort of a sequential, but it spans across, I'll say, 2 and 3, and even to some extent, even to 1 also. Okay. And the last phase, which is there is a closing phase. So after you have executed everything, okay, and then you say, okay, my project is over. It's not that now you will just, okay, done. I'm just moving everything outside and I'm just completing it. Not like that. You have to do the proper closing of the project. Okay. Here you will figure it out that now how all my activity has happened, how much delay has been there, what exactly has been cost overrun, what are my lessons learned, okay, how I can improve next time, okay, and also I have to see that whether I move the resources in the phase manner. Okay. Also, at the same time, we may have to also, I'll say, hand over the project, okay, to operations. So in the first slide, we had seen that, right? There is a sort of operations which is there. So once the project is completed, we also have to hand it over to operations, because as I said, project has a specific start and specific end time. Okay. Hence, once project ends, objective is achieved, then the project team will go away, will move to the next project, or will move to some different task, right? So the day-to-day activity has to be then handed over to someone. And that is a part of a closing phase where you will transition to some extent resources as well as whatever has been done also to the maybe operation team. Okay. So someone has raised a hand. Okay. We'll take question later. I think that will be better. Okay. So let's do a little bit deep dive now further. Okay. So we know that now there are 5 phases, and you have to now think over now your personal projects. Okay. So just think over yourself that now whenever you are executing a particular project, whether it is a wedding, or whether it is a celebration, or whether it is a maybe you're traveling no, on holidays, okay, how you have to think now about these different phases. Okay, that as you know, when you travel, then you have to initiate, means basically, first of all, you will finalize, okay, that you want to travel to local or domestic or maybe international destination. You will figure out that now how many days you want to spend, how much budget you want to spend. Then in the phase 2, you'll go and figure it out now how much what are the different operators and how much detailing you will do, right? You will figure it out your itinerary, right? And then you will go and enjoy holidays. If you are overshooting your budget, then you will do the monitoring and controlling and try to see that you reduce your budget, right? And then maybe once you are back home, then you will try to figure it out that now where you went wrong or whether everything was as required, right? So that is how I try to relate to a project life cycle. Now, the example which I just gave was very simple example, or rather I'll say a very easy thing, which we all would have experienced. But in the real life, okay, in the organization, right, where the project involves maybe a huge amount of money, okay, with its sort of a few lakhs to few crores and several thousand crores, right? Lot more detailing is required. Okay, so just keep that in mind, that it is not so simple the way we discussed in the previous phase. So what exactly it requires, right? So that let's go through it a little bit more in detail again on what are the different things which is involved into actual project management phases or project life cycle. So initiation, which we said, okay, this is the first phase. Now, what exactly we do in the initiation phase? So what we do is that we document the project charter, okay, and we document the business case. So when we say business case, what is business case? Business case is to prove that now, or to say that if I'll do this project, then this is a sort of a benefit which will come to either me or my unit, my employer, my company, my organization, or whoever, right? So that is how you document your business case, first of all, that if I spend whatever X amount of money to execute this project, then I'm going to get a Y amount of revenue after whatever 1 year, 2 year, whatever period, right? So that is how you document your business. You prepare the business case, okay, and you present it to the sponsor or the governing body, okay, and you prepare a project charter that this is what I'm going to do as a part of a project. Okay, so some of these terms will be a little bit technical because I'll say that from the project management actual technical management perspective, some of the terms are you might have heard first time, but I'm just trying to simplify it to the extent you can understand. Okay, so if you have any doubts, you can just maybe put it down in the chat box, and maybe Sonali, Rupali can just ask me, you can stop me. But basically, I'm just trying to put it in more simplified manner so that now you understand about this thing. So you prepare the business case and then you prepare the project chart. Quite often, business case may or may not be correct. Okay, you might have said that, okay, I'm going to get sort of so much revenue. Okay, but if someone has not done the due diligence, that business case might be a wrong one. And that's what we see. I mean, we see that several kind of projects, they are executed with a big fanfare, okay, and after it is completed, there is not a required or expected amount of benefit coming out of it. Okay, so just keep that in mind, that business case has to be very realistic and has to be contain the actual or realistic benefits. Then as a part of that, you define the project goals. Okay, you say that, okay, these are some of the goals which I'm going to achieve in whatever 3 months, 6 months, whatever period duration it is there, but periodically this is a kind of a goal which I'm going to achieve it. So as a part of this, you put down the project goals, you define project goals, you identify the stakeholders. Okay, so there is very important thing. Okay, you need to identify each and every stakeholders now, that who is going to impact it. So stakeholders, I'll just say that, are the one who are directly or indirectly impacted by the project. Okay, so as I'd mentioned, the project brings change, right? So when project brings change, obviously there is someone will get impacted, right? So you need to see that you identify all the stakeholders who are going to be impacted by this particular project or this particular change or this particular service or this particular whatever temporary endeavor. So that needs to be very clear. If you fail to identify the stakeholders, okay, then you are sort of going to fail maybe at some point of time, and your whatever investment or whatever budget or whatever is going to go for a toss. Okay, so always keep that in mind. And we know several cases, right? We have several projects we know whereby, for example, I'll say there are several projects, I mean, whereby it was kicked off with whatever, a lot of fanfare, and then it was closed down. So I think one of them was some of the nuclear plants, okay, so which has been actually initiated, and then now it has to be withdrawn because the locals opposed it. So unless until locals are whatever not taken into confidence, although they are not going to not directly benefit from it, but they are going to indirectly get impacted because the nuclear power plant is coming in their area, they might face some kind of issue, right? Radiation or whatever. So if the stakeholders are not identified and not taken into confidence, okay, then it is going to have a problem. So it is very important that now you identify each and every stakeholders. You also have to assemble a project team during this time. Okay, so when I say project team, so basically it's not that now only project manager will be there, right? There will be a project manager, there's a project leader, there will be a sort of a team who is going to do the execution. If there is any vendor who is going to supply you some resources, those has to be identified. So all of this has to be identified during this period and has to be assembled. Okay, saying that yes, we are going to start this project and we'll need this kind of whatever resources, or we are going to need this within this duration. Okay, it cannot be that now it will be not available later on, right? So we know during again corona time, I mean a lot of countries wanted some kind of medicine, right? So then they approached Indian government, and Indian government supplied it, right? But an Indian government again need a raw material, right? So then again they have to ask their resources, right? So I mean it was like a full value chain which was there, and at times we know that now because of the logistics issues, some of the things were not available. So unless until you're not given the heads up upfront, okay, to the project team or to the resources, you will not be able to achieve the target. Okay, so that is very important thing now to figure it out, and you assemble the project team. And obviously you will set up a project office. So what does it mean? Set up a project office means that now you will do the continuous monitoring, tracking, controlling, and also keep a track of all the finances, daily basis or periodic basis. You figure out whether you are on track or not. Okay, so all those things has to be done as a part of a project office. Okay, some proof is required, auditing is required. So all those things will be coordinated by the project office. So you have to set up a project office at the initiation phase itself, right? You cannot say that now I'm executing and then I realize, oh, I don't have project office, I don't have someone who will do the monitoring, right? So then it is doomed to fail. So it's purely because some of the companies don't understand now all these nuances. Okay, and they feel that now it can be done by whatever, now the same person who is actually executing it, or who is now running the show or whatever. And then that's where now a person gets overloaded at some point of time, breaks down, or maybe leaves the company, and then everything goes for a toss, right? So that is where all these things are very much required as a part of an initiation, right? So this is where you do a sort of a high level, I'll say, thinking, and then you figure it out how you're going to do it, what you need it, right? Okay, so next phase, as you know, is the planning. We mentioned that second phase, right? Now, when you say planning, what exactly planning is required? So we know project management plan, we just talked about project management plan, right? But that is just a one terminology which we say, but it is not that way. Okay, so there is a different plans within it. Okay, so again, as I'm saying that now this is again a traditional project management which I'm talking about to keep the thing simple, but the in actual world it will be a little bit different. Okay, but just keep that in mind. So scope management plan. So basically, when we say scope management plan, okay, what we mean? We mean is that there is a scope which is there. So for example, right, I mean, we have some project which is there, and we say that, okay, we need whatever 10 things now as a part of this project, right? So we cannot say, or rather we cannot have that now every 10, I mean, we'll start working on 10 things together, right? We have to say that, okay, as of now, we'll start with these two things. It has a dependency on the remaining three things and maybe on the remaining five things, right? So you have to see that now you do this scope management, okay, that what are the scope to be taken up right now. And if there is anything which gets added beyond this, okay, then I'm not going to take it. So quite often what happens is that now people start accepting any change to the scope, okay, without understanding that it is going to have an impact. Okay, and then they realize on one fine day that they will not be able to complete the project within the prescribed time, prescribed budget, and within the given quality. Okay, so that is very important thing. You have to see that now you have a well-defined scope, and you have a plan to manage that scope. And that is where the scope management plan comes into the picture, that you have to say that how I'm going to manage my scope, okay, how I'm going to take it. It's very simplified manner, but yes, there is a lot more nuances to it. Okay. Similarly, cost management plan. So again, as I said, you have a particular budget, right? Now, I have say, for example, I have maybe whatever $100,000 budget for my project, okay, and I say I'm going to execute the project over 10 months. I cannot say that now, I mean, I cannot have a situation whereby I say that I have executed half of the budget in my first 2 months. Okay, so that is very important. If I executed half of the things, half of the budget into first 2 months, what I'll do for remaining 8 months, right? So that is where cost management plan comes into picture, whereby you have to say that now how your cost will be utilized, okay, or will be spent, okay. So depending on, you will say that, okay, if my this much, I mean, over the period of 10 months, I'll say that, okay, I'll spend my money according to this bucket, right? So that is one way. Or I'll say that, no, as and when my some of the scopes or some of the requirement are delivered, then I'll have this much budget is utilized. Okay, so it can be different ways of doing it, but in very simplified manner, it is that now you have to ensure that now you manage your cost now in the manner which you have envisaged, or way you have planned. Okay, if you go beyond it, then it will go for a toss. Okay, the very third is the risk management plan. Okay, so risk management, as I mentioned earlier, there will be always a sort of a unknown areas which will be there. Okay, unknown elements which will be there. So which is a risk management. Okay, and how you have to manage those risks. So for simple example, I mean, right, nowadays, I mean, whenever you have, say, cricket match, right, there will be a rain which will be there, right? There's quite often it happens that now it rains. Then we can't avoid this risk, right? It can happen. Then what do? They put the tarpaulin into a field, and within few minutes they cover the pitch, or they cover the ground, and see that now the pitch and the field is protected from that. So this is a risk management in a very simplified manner, right? So you cannot control some of the risk unknown elements, okay, which are beyond your control. Okay, but you have to accept it. Similarly, we know, I mean, we all take an insurance, right? Why? Because we don't know what can happen, to whatever area, God forbid. But so that's why we take an insurance, that whether we don't know whether we may fall ill or not. That's why we take Mediclaim, or we take term insurance, or all different kind of insurance we take, right? It's just to mitigate that risk. Okay, so, or that is more of a transferring the risk, that if this risk materializes, then I have insurance, so that will be taken care of. So there are different ways of managing the risk. I'll not go into that detail, because that risk management itself is a huge topic, and I can even take a session on that. But at high level, this is what risk management is. And when you are executing a big project, you have to consider all those risks. That now, say, for example, if you're building a bridge, you may not get iron or whatever steel, right? Then what you'll do it? You need to have maybe a multiple vendors, right? If you don't get the resources, then you need to have maybe alternate contractor, right? So those are some of the things, nuances which are there. Okay. Communication is again, you need to have a very clear plan for the communication. Okay, so which many of us in the professional organization, we forget this. Okay, and we think that, okay, you just communicate something. Okay, I have done this way, that way. Okay, that's not the way. That is communication plan, which is there, right? Communication plan has to be a very clear plan, whereby you say that, okay, what is my weekly status, what is my fortnightly status, what is my monthly status, has to be communicated to the stakeholders. So we said stakeholders over here, right? So unless and until these stakeholders are not communicated about the communication plan, okay, or communication, then again, this is bound to fail. And let me tell you, the project managers, 80% of time should go into communication, okay, which is one fact which none of us knows, or none of us follows it. But our pure job is to ensure that now we communicate continuously and in the consistent manner to the stakeholders. And there has to be communication plan. So whether the communication can be either you have a dashboard whereby now stakeholders come and check the status of it, or maybe you push the status to the stakeholders, whereby you publish a sort of a status report or weekly status report to stakeholders email, or maybe you send it on their WhatsApp, right? So there are different manners whereby you need to communicate, or maybe you have a weekly meeting, okay, whereby you say, okay, I'm going to update you all with the status, you all need to join. Okay, all stakeholders need to join. So that is a sort of a planning which needs to go into it. Okay, without the planning or without the whatever communication strategy, project is bound to fail. So if you underestimate any of these aspects, then again you're going to go for a doom for failure. Okay. Integration management. Oh, we are almost close to 12. Okay. So integration management plan. So what is integration management? So I'll just shortly come to it, but that is a sort of a plan whereby how you're going to integrate all the plans. Okay. Time management. Again, as I said, you need to have a very proper time management plan. I mean, okay, you cannot say that you assume that no, daily people will work for 8 hours, or you assume daily people will work for whatever X number of hours. If people don't work for that many number of hours or don't deliver the required output, then your whatever time management will go for toss, right? So whatever work was supposed to be done in 1 day, now it gets done in 2 days, right? Then you are bound to fail. So again, that's where monitoring and control comes into picture. It will continuously see that whatever you depicted or whatever you projected in the time management gets followed or rather executed. And if not, then figure out the root cause, try to fix it. Okay, so that is very important. Again, quality management plan. So that is again a plan whereby you need to ensure that now what is the expected quality out of it, right? I mean, we know that we know several instances, several services, right, where the quality is not as expected. Yeah, you just consider a Boeing 737 Max aeroplane, right? I mean, that we know a few years back, there are a couple of incidents, and then Boeing accepted that there was some issues into it, and software glitch was there, right? So some of the qualities we have to see that now the quality has to be perfect. So you have to figure it out that what is the kind of quality is expected. In some cases, the quality cannot be compromised at all. So you have to upfront decide that you want 100% quality, okay, or you want a 90% quality or 99% quality, right? So depending on the kind of a service or kind of a product which you are delivering it, you need to have that kind of a quality, okay, and that is to be mentioned into quality management plan. Okay, that's where you will mention that how many levels of checks you will do, what kind of quality controls will be in place, what is the kind of a percentage perfection precision is required, okay, and what if it fails, then how we are going to maybe take care of it. Now, what are the implications of it, what are the risks to it, what are the things which you can control, which you cannot control. So a lot of such nuances has to go into this quality management plan, okay, and it has to be decided upfront. Okay, you cannot say that now in the initial phase, in the initiation phase, you said, okay, I'm okay with 90% quality. And then you come over here and then you say that, no, I need 100% quality. Okay, then your cost will or budget will go for toss. Okay, so that is very important that now you need to have a very clear-cut strategy about quality expectations from the stakeholders. Okay, again, this is another aspect of procurement management plan. So sometimes, quite often, I'll not say sometimes, but you will need to procure the material or resources for executing the project, right? So for that, you need to maybe get a service of whatever internal different departments or maybe external vendors, right? So you need to have a very clear strategy that how we are going to procure it. Okay, so some companies have a different kind of a procurement policies. Like now, you need to have a quote from 3 vendors. You need to do a sort of a point-wise valuation, okay, and then you figure it out whether which vendor is best, right? So there will be a sort of a policies and plan which has to be there, that depending on the kind of a project, kind of the criticality of a project, kind of a whatever duration, urgency, now all this you have to figure out what is a sort of your procurement policy or procurement plan. Okay, so that is one thing which is important. Again, resource management plan. So resource management plan, when we say, it is like now how you are going to manage your resources. So resource can be human resource, or it can be a sort of a hardware material, or maybe a software or whatever, right? So all kind of things which makes project possible. Okay, those resources, how we are going to manage it. So you cannot say that now I'll have maybe all the resources onboarded on the day 1, okay, and I'll make them sit till the project is closed, right? You need to see that now your resources are managed in the very efficient manner. So you say that, okay, on day 1, I'll have maybe only 2 people or 2 resources on the project. On the month 2, I'll have maybe 10 people. On month 3, I'll have 20 people, right? And so similarly, that's how you'll do the ramp down. Okay, so that has to be clear. Okay, that what is a sort of your resource management plan. Okay, and that resource management plan has to be in tandem with your cost management plan. Okay, so whatever cost you have budgeted, that has to be in tandem with resource management plan. Otherwise, again, you might planning for a failure, right? So that is very important, that now you need to have a very clear resource management plan. Otherwise, you will be you don't have any idea how you're going, because as I said, in the month 2 only you would have exhausted whatever 60-80% of budget, and then you don't know how to execute the remaining project, right? And that we have noticed multiple times. In the same way, I mean, like we have reached a particular stage, but we don't have resource. Okay, and we know that, okay, onboarding a resource may take 3 months, right? Now you have 6 months project, and only on the 2nd month or 3rd month you realize, okay, now you need a resource. then what will happen? You can't get the resource before the end date, right? I mean, so again, that is very clear strategy which needs to be developed, that now how you're going to manage the resource. Again, stakeholder engagement plan. So it is not a management. Okay, you need to engage the stakeholders. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You have to engage a stakeholder continuously. Okay, you have to tell them that, see, this is what we are doing it, this is where we have reached it, this is how it's going to take long, this is a kind of a cost which has gone into it, this is a benefit we'll get it maybe at a whatever X number of month or whatever Y number of month. Okay, and you are not going to get impacted or no. So all this has to run in tandem, okay, to see that now all these plans are prepared and then sort of a communicated to all the stakeholders. Okay, so until stakeholders are not aware, they will say stop the project, because they don't know what is the status of project, whether it's progressing or not, whether we are on track or not, whether we are delayed or not, right? So if you don't engage a stakeholder with a sufficient details, then suddenly one fine day stakeholder will say, let's stop the project, right? Or project sponsor will say that let's stop the project. So that is where we need to say. So that's where now this project integration management is, whereby you need to have all this sort of a plan, okay, needs to be integrated and needs to have a very clear project management plan. Okay, so you integrate all of these plans and have a final plan which says that, okay, this is how I'm going to execute the project. Okay, this is my quality, this is my risk, and the cost of risk is this much. This is my procurement plan, this is procurement policy, this is my scope only. Anything beyond the scope will require more time, more cost. Okay, and it will have impact on quality, right? So all this has to be sort of very clearly documented in the sort of integrated manner, and then only you need to sort of execute the project. Okay, so before you execute the project, you need to have this clear thing. Okay, so now what do you do in the task management? Okay, so just 1 minute, I'll just have water. Okay, so now here actual thing comes into picture. I'll say that execution is to a large extent the most easy task. Okay, because here you just tell maybe someone, okay, just you need to do this thing, because you have already planned it in the planning phase. Okay, so if your planning phase is not there, then in execution phase you will keep discovering few things. Okay, so which is obviously a not good thing. So task management is whereby you say that, okay, this particular resource will do it this 3 tasks or 4 tasks in a particular duration, right? So that is what you are going to do in the execution. Then you will say that, okay, this particular resource has to complete this task in this much time. Okay, you will define the time period also, that now a particular person has to develop this particular unit of software, or maybe a particular person has to, a set of person has to maybe build the wall or build the slab, right? I mean, in particular time, or maybe in the bridge where we have to say that, okay, we have to build the pillars in this much time, right? And again, during this phase, you will also, when you're doing the execution, obviously here where the maximum amount of your cost will get expended. Okay, so because now you're doing the execution, you are utilizing the resources, so that's where you have to pay maximum. So you will keep saying that, okay, this is what my costing is going to. 1 minute, sorry. Okay, so this is where you will. Sorry. Sorry for that. Okay, so even during execution phase, you will also keep monitoring the quality. Okay, that now whether everything is as per the required quality or not, right? So continuously, you might keep doing the quality checks, quality controls while you're doing the execution, and you will see that now it is as expected. Similarly, if while doing the execution, you realize, okay, that this is not as required, okay, we need to do a sort of some change to it, some tweak to it. And that's where you will also need to have very clear change management also in place. Okay, so in software, we say change request, right? And in the other places, it calls maybe a change management. So you need to have a very clear change management that now if there is any change which is required compared to whatever has been planned, okay, then you need to take an approval of all the key stakeholders or the project sponsor or the board or the governing body, okay, and say that we have to do this inevitable change, and it is going to cost us whatever X amount of money, Y amount of time, and whatever. okay, and whatever resource. So you need to have a very clear change management also done during the execution phase. Similarly, you will also keep doing the procurement, because at the same time you will be procuring the resources. As I said, no, your execution phase is when you need actually maximum resources, and that's where you will keep requesting for the whatever raw materials or the resources from vendors or whatever other departments, and then try to see that no, it is run as per the plan. So that is where you will be doing it. And obviously resource management and stakeholder management also you'll do. And obviously collaboration, you have to continuously do the collaboration with all the involved parties, stakeholders, governing body, project office, vendors, customers, or the indirect stakeholders also, to see that they are not impacted, right? So that is a maximum thing which happens during the execution phase. This is where you have the maximum project strength. Your maximum budget will get expended during this particular phase, okay? Then you have monitoring and control. So here again, as I said, explained earlier, you'll manage resources, you will monitor the project performances, because you manage resources in particular, you see that, okay, something is not there, some resource is required, is not there, he is not coming, or is absent, or whatever, he's fallen sick, right? Then you have to continuously identify the alternative, right? You have to identify the backup and try to see that he is available. Similarly, if it is a raw material, is one vendor is not able to supply it, then you need to see that now other alternate vendor is available and will supply your resources, right? Again, here you will also do the risk management. If some risk materializes, then how you will take care of it, right? So similarly, we know that during Corona, a lot of projects stopped actually. So that's where risk management got triggered, right? You need to also continue to do the projects review meetings, and you need to publish the reports and try to see that now everybody is on the same page, so that now there is no issue. And in case required, okay, you see that there is a delay, okay, then in that case you will do the sort of a rescheduling, okay? You will have to update your project schedule. So you say that, okay, I'm going to do this particular project in 10 months or 1 year, and now you see that after 3 months you see that now the project has just moved, instead of 25% project has just moved by 10%. Then that means that instead of 12 months it might take 15 months. Then you have to, at that point of time only, at the end of 3rd month or whatever, 4th month only, you have to do this project planning, replanning, okay, whereby you say that, okay, my schedule is going to get updated because of XYZ reason. You have to take everyone's approval, you have to engage all the stakeholders, and then you replan it and then take it forward. And yes, change the project plan. So this may require whatever relearn project plans to be changed, right? So this is the monitoring and control. This actually spans over, I'll say, all the phases. Okay, it's just that I have shown it over here sequentially, but this is what is. Okay, so now once things are executed, okay, the output is there as expected. Okay, then you reach to the last phase of the project, which is project closure. Okay, now just saying that project is over as per project manager is not sufficient. You need to get a confirmation from the whoever customer is there who is sponsoring your project. Okay, so you have to get the acceptance. We know several times, okay, that now some particular bridge has been done, and whatever the vendor or whoever says that it's completed, but unless until it doesn't have the lights or it doesn't have the railings and everything, the tar laid out, I mean, the project cannot be, or bridge cannot be marked as a complete, right? So there is a, whatever project goals are there which has been set, okay, or the expectation was there, unless and until all those are not done, you cannot mark the project as complete or close. You need to get a confirmation from whoever is giving you money or sponsor that, no, see, this is what I feel that it is completed. Now you give me a sort of a sign, right? So that is very important thing, whereby you take a confirmation, you take acknowledgement from the, and then you transfer deliverables. So now, since you completed the project, that is developed the product or whatever service, then you transfer it to operations, right? So the way like whatever bridges, everything gets developed or maybe built, and then it is transferred to whatever local municipality who will actually maintain that bridge or road or whatever, right? So that is how you transfer deliverables to the operations, will maintain that particular service for the remaining duration of the life. Okay, and obviously you need to also do the billing. So when I say billing, you need to see that now whatever the whatever cost has to be recovered, or whatever the billing was to be done no, to the whatever party who was a sponsor, then you have to do that. If you had vendor, and then you have to also give confirmation to vendor that yes, the resource is as required and has been completed task, and then you have to pay out to the vendors also. It can be during the course of project, or it may be at the end of project. And obviously you will review the documentation that whatever has been done properly or not. You will release resource, although I have mentioned at the end of it, not necessary that all the resources will be released at the same time. It will be sort of a ramp down of the resources in the a very slow manner. Okay. And you will also do the postmortem. So this is where you will do the sort of a document the lessons learned during the project, that now what went good, what went wrong, what are the good practices we need to carry forward, what are the bad practices that we need to avoid if you want to conduct a similar kind of project. So all that postmortem has to be done. Who has done good thing, who has not done the good thing, right? What is the quality expectation, what we missed out, why we have to now consider this change management, right? We said change management was required. So why this change management was required? How can you avoid it in the next time? So all those things has to be done as a part of a closure, as one of the last activity. Okay. And once you do this, you close it, and then you say that project is closed. Okay. So this is a sort of a project management life cycle which one needs to follow, or rather needs to go through it in very detailed manner. Okay. So I hope many of you now got a little bit more insight into what goes into project management, right? So these are the different phases, the different areas, different plans, different activities which needs to be taken care of when you are executing the project. Okay, so let me do time check. Yes, 12:10. Okay. Okay, so now it was a little bit technical, I'll say that. Now, project canvas. Okay, project canvas is sort of a canvas of the whatever what goes into project. Okay, so the same thing, I'll just try to maybe put it into a, I'll say, a very simplified manner. Okay, for all of you. This is a sort of a slides from the Antonio Rodriguez, who is one of the top thinker, and these all slides are part of this. Okay, so this basically project canvas, or rather canvas of the project. Okay, to make it simple, I mean, now it's like, now rather than going into that, it's more I'll say in a word which we understand. Okay, normal people understand. When I say scope management plan, obviously all the non-project management person will think what it is, but just to make it simple, this is how it has been now clubbed into it. I just try to present it over here so that now you understand. So why do we need this project? Okay, that is what actually now starts in this particular domain, whereby you say that what is a use case, what is a rational, what is a business case. Sometimes we know that now business case, as I said, mentioned earlier, people might give something wrong business case to see that now project gets triggered or project gets delivered, and that's why there will be a sort of a wrong assumptions which may go into it, and people will give wrong rationale to do the business case. But basically business case has to be very clear, and we need to have very exact rationale about why this project is getting executed. Okay, so if you don't give that, then there is no point. So like, I mean, we know that now Brexit, which happened a few years back, it was like, now there was a lot of to exit or not to exit, right? There was literally a poll which was done. So only after that, now there was a Brexit which was taken up. There was, I think, a very by small margin only Brexit was accepted, and then project was undertaken, right? So it's very clear that now you need to have a very clear business case, and you don't falsify the data now to undertake the project, because this project was a huge project. We know Brexit, right? Similarly, we need to have clearly identify what is the purpose and passion behind executing this project. Okay, it should be basically linked to some higher purpose, and then only you should execute the projects. We know that in one of the incident whereby in the mine, okay, there are several miners which got trapped. Okay, and in that particular thing, the project got executed very cleverly, in coordination across a lot of agencies. Okay, and why? Because there was a passion to it. Okay, that they wanted to save the lives of some of the people, miners, who were trapped into the mine. Okay, which was like 5 kilometers down the line. Okay, down the earth. So in that, it was whether it's a US government or it's a South America government or whether it's a NASA, and a lot of agencies came, joined the hands. Similarly, we know recently in Thailand also in the cave, some kids got stuck, right? And that project was having a purpose that not to save the kids, right? And a lot of agencies, a lot of people came from together to make that happen, right? So that was why. Then who is going to sponsor it? Okay, and who is going to responsible? Who is going to govern it? Okay, so that is again a second dimension which we need to understand. One is a rational and business case. Second is executive sponsor and governance. Okay, so when we say executive sponsor, what is an executive sponsor? Executive sponsor is one who is going to give you the money, okay, for the execution of the project. So that is very important, and he is overall responsible for whatever execution of the project. So he himself might not be doing it, but he will ensure that now the project gets executed. Okay. And it is his sort of accountability, and he is going to make people accountable for it. Okay. So executive sponsor is one who is going to going to share the accountability and ensure that project gets executed. So we have, unless until you don't have a very clear sponsor, okay, many projects fail because sometimes sponsor doesn't understand or people don't understand who is a sponsor. Okay, and that's where there is a sort of a project is in limbo, or now people don't know whom to approach, when to approach. Okay, or if sponsor is not that much effective, then again there will be issues. Okay. So like if many of you know, I mean, this Steve Jobs had taken up this project Purple in year, I mean, he got idea in 2001, it was launched in 2004, and 2007 he launched his iPhone. So since he being the sponsor of this thing, I understand that now he used to sit in a lot of meetings, I mean, almost all meetings, to ensure that this project gets executed. Okay, and how this project got triggered also, there is also an interesting story behind it, whereby someone from Microsoft sort of a challenged him, and that's what triggered the creation of this particular iPhone. Okay, so there is very interesting story behind this. But no, when he was executive sponsor, he used to sit in all the meetings. All the meetings means all the team level meetings, which none of the sponsor does actually. Okay, but he was so passionate, and he was so much wanted to ensure that now this gets done. That's why he was there. So basically, governance is a very important thing. There has to be a steering committee who will ensure that now all the decisions are taken in very in very rational manner and not in the emotional manner. Okay, and they have to decide the importance of the project for the organization. We need to take a very conscious call and accordingly ensure that now corrective actions are taken wherever required. Then all these elements which we have touched upon: scope, time, cost, quality, risk management, right? So I'll just go through it quickly. Scope, as you know, that now has to be taken care of, right? Time is, again, you need to ensure that time is taken care of. So there was a sort of a cost wise, I mean, just imagine there is a Olympic stadium which was actually envisaged on 1976. Okay, and the budget was actually 148 million, but the ultimate cost, it was 3.1 billion. Okay, so it was a 20x times the cost was there. So just imagine the kind of a wrong miscalculation which was done in terms of estimation, which totally derailed the project. Okay. Again, we talked about quality. So there is again another incident in the Hawaii Island. There was somewhere in 2017, there was a sort of an event which was planned, okay, which was called Fire Festival. And the sponsors sold a ticket for, I mean, very exorbitant rate, okay, and promising all those things, particular on this particular date. But basically, there was nothing over there. There was just a poor tent which were there. There were no sufficient light, no food, and whatever was promised was totally false. Okay, and there was a huge sort of a lawsuit which came out. So basically, whatever scope or whatever was defined was not kept in line with what was promised. So that is sort of a very wrong governance and wrong thing. Risk management, procurement, we have touched upon. Procurement, I mean, particular Olympics, we all know that a huge number of order gets placed, okay, with a huge number of employees, volunteers, and contractors, and we know how it happens in the Olympics, right? Human resources, stakeholders, which touched upon. Okay, so stakeholders, particularly this example, I think many of you, if you are not aware, there was a very recently there was this biggest sort of a um, fraud kind of a scandal which happened, okay, and there was a sort of event which was published saying that biggest startup funding festival is going to take place, and even the lot of influencer actually advertised for it, okay, and the organizer took a lot of money from whatever sponsors and all the people who wanted to attend it, and when they reached there was nothing, absolutely nothing which was there, and this guy's organizer had advertised like this. So now the stakeholders, I mean, like these were influencers, they were stakeholders, but they never realize, okay, that now they are going to now get into the scam, right? So I mean, indirectly they were stakeholders, as influencers, but without doing the due diligence, without knowing the actual stakeholders, they got into a sort of a problem. Change management we touch upon. Okay, so this change in particular, this again a very interesting example, whereby in the Stockholm there was a sort of a left-handed drive to right-handed drive was done, because the Sweden was the only country in that region where it was a left-handed, and hence because of that everything was sort of people when used to come from the different countries, they used to take a lot of accidents. So on one day they basically Stockholm or the Sweden decided not to change from left to right hand. So just imagine the kind of the work with the project. Okay, it is a very national level project which went into it now, whereby all the signs, everything has to be changed, right? The signal lights, even the street signs, everything. So on one fine day, it was all the people were asked to drive on the other side of the road. Okay, so this again another project which was a very exemplary project which got executed, and you need to see that any change management, anything, any project has to be see that it is meticulously planned. Okay, and the last domain which I'll say that culture. Okay, so the company or whatever project has to be very focused towards a project driven organization. Okay, then it makes sense that otherwise if it's all operations driven organization, then there will not be a sufficient buyer for the projects, and we will end up with a issue at the end of it. Yeah, so that was more or less covered. So I'll just cover some of the key terms, okay, so that you get an idea. So I'm not sure, but now there will be a RESI chart which is always talked about and which we don't know. Okay, so most of time we know that now people once in the project or in the company, we keep saying that now he's supposed to do, who is supposed to do it. I mean, you didn't inform me, you didn't consulted me. So what exactly it means? Okay, so it means that now the RESI chart is not defined. When I say RESI chart is what? RESI is a sort of an acronym for 4 words. Okay, that who is responsible, who is accountable, who should be consulted, and who should be informed. Okay, so there has to be very clear definition or clear responsibility established in any project about each of these areas. Okay, that who is actually responsible. Are you responsible or are you accountable? So project sponsor is accountable because he's supposed to ensure that he has to execute it. Okay, but at the same time, project manager might be the one who is actually responsible for doing it. Okay, so you have to ensure that now very clearly that how or who stakeholders needs to be made responsible, to be consulted, to be informed. Okay, so here just given the activity, I just given sort of one example whereby say particular activity is there, okay, a particular task is there, then basically who should be made accountable, who should be consulted. Okay, similarly project sponsor, he should be responsible, he should be accountable. Okay, SME should be consulted because when you are doing this whatever strategy for any event plan, then SME should be consulted. Okay, so or maybe videographer should be responsible for whatever doing the event management. Okay, or cameraman one should be responsible. So basically all this now basically has to be clearly defined that for each of these activity, who is responsible, who is accountable, who is consulted, who is. So without having this clear clarity, you are going to have a finger pointing and you're going to blame each other. So remember, we see the one of the cartoon in the first slide, right? So there we mentioned that now we are pointing a finger, we are saying blaming others, right? So if you don't have this kind of a structure in place, okay, for each of the team members, each of the project members, or each of the stakeholders, you are going to end up in that kind of situation because you don't know. People will say, oh, you've not informed me, so I'll not sign off on this particular thing, right? Or you have not consulted me, right? So basically those are the kind of things which needs to be very clearly documented, and which many organization misses it out on no, and the project execution. Okay, so this just some of the key terms I'll just make you understand so that you have some fair idea. Again, this is a WBS, there is a work breakdown structure. Okay, so when you are doing any planning, any project, you need to break it down into a small task to such an extent that now each small task should be able to be done by a whatever single person or a sort of a set of person. Okay, you have to break it down to that level. It should not be further breakable. Okay, so that is how you have to prepare the work breakdown structure. This is just example. If you want to develop a e-commerce site development, okay, then what you need to do. Okay, these are some of the areas which you need to do. And further to this, say analysis, then you need to work this, right? So these are some of the areas which we need to do. You need to make someone responsible for each of this activity, and you need to see that now those are sort of a who is responsible, who is accountable has to be clearly defined. Okay, so this at high level I'm talking about. There is a lot more nuances to it. So because you are not from the pure project management field, I'm just trying to give you an idea that what all needs to be done. Okay. And there are some of the areas which you just like to know that there are several software which are there. Okay, so some of the names I've listed down. There are a lot many beyond this, but I'm just trying to list it down. Okay. Okay, so now is quickly just trying to make you understand. Okay, so now whatever you have seen this, that is a purely a waterfall method. Okay, what does it mean waterfall? As I said, you start with initiate phase, then you move to a sort of a planning phase, then you move to a execution phase, then you monitoring control, and then closing, right? So basically what happens, there's more from the software delivery perspective, I say that it's more of a high risk thing. Okay, you do the analysis, you do the design. Okay, you basically do the build, that is development, then you discover some defects or some bugs. Okay, you fix it, then you move it to again a different phase, then you test it again, you have some more bugs, and then you do the release, right? So if you see the risk, basically as and when during the time in initial phase, the risk will be less. Okay, because you are doing the analysis. If you've done the wrong analysis, you can again go back and complete that analysis. But once you reach the design phase, the risk is higher. Okay, because if you're something wrong design or some wrong analysis, then you have to go back to that much point in time backward, and then you do the re-analysis, and then you come back. Similarly, if you're doing the build, you've done the development. If something goes wrong, okay, something is wrong, and there is some design level issue, then you have to go back over here, and then you do that. And similarly, testing. So, okay, so basically, over the period of time, the risk increases. Okay, and you realize the business value at the end of it. Okay, so this is a basically very traditional delivery model. While I call it for waterfall for software, but I think in many other projects also nowadays, this thing is applicable. Okay, and what happens if you're trying to have a huge whatever execution duration, okay, over the period of whatever 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, or whatever duration, right? Then it happens that now you are building a say bridge from both the sides, or rather not tracks from both the sides, and you realize that now because of lack of communication, this is what happens, right? So we have seen several such things, several such instances in the public domain which are there, right? So unless and until the project execution not done properly, the risk increases, and that's where the problem happens. 1 minute, I'll just have water. Okay, so there are different reasons for projects fails. Okay, people keep giving excuses for different reasons. There are different kind of reasons which are actually there also. Lack of resource planning, goals are not very clear. Stakeholders or the team members don't have the very clear understanding of the project visibility. Scopes will get added, and the expectation will be unrealistic. Okay, so all these things actually results into some issues. So that's where agile leadership comes into picture. Okay, so I'll just quickly touch upon the agile leadership, okay, or agile framework. While it is not purely, I'll say, project management method, but it is a means to deliver the project. Okay, so that's where I'll just touch upon this quickly, because without touching upon the agile, the projects nowadays are not, I think, is not complete. Okay, so basically, what is agile leadership? It's basically agile values and practices creates teams for the greatest overall benefit. So what you do is that, see, in software development process, you are doing all this sequential analysis, design, code, test. Okay, but in the agile, what you will do is that you do little bit of analysis, you do little of design, you do little bit of coding, you do little of testing, and then make it, then deliver it. So at the certain point of a time, say for example, at the end of 25% duration, you will have something which is 100% usable. Okay, so that is the sort of a agile delivery method or agile method of delivering the project. Okay, so this is a traditional method which we discussed till now, but in the agile, you will deliver something like this. Okay, so that is what agile is there. And nowadays, agile is in trend everywhere. I mean, it's not only the, I'll say, software, but even in the all the public domain projects also are trying to execute in the agile in whatever manner that you try to deliver business value. Okay, don't wait till end of the project to deliver no value, but at the whatever duration you deliver some value to the business, so that now at least they can use some of this and start now getting the benefit of it. Okay, so the objective is you break it down the sprints, you try to involve customer continuously, and you have a small teams. Okay, so basically, this is what I'll say. Agile process is there. Too short to cover. Again, there is a lot more thing into agile which can be taken up in the separate session itself. Okay, but basically, this is a kind of a product backlog which might be there. Okay, that you want to develop a product which, as I say, for example, there's such 10 components which needs to be delivered. Okay, you break it down. You pick up one particular backlog, you do the release planning. Okay, you prepare the release backlog for one items or two items. Okay, and then you deliver it. Okay, you do the sprint planning, further break it down this risk backlog into sprint backlog, and you deliver it into whatever small sprint of 2 to 3 weeks, which can be whatever consisting of small teams. Okay, you daily review the progress. Okay, and then you do the sprint review, and then you deliver the potentially shippable product. Okay, so the way we mentioned that now you instead of delivering everything together at the end of it, okay, you try to deliver something continuously on continuous basis. Okay, and make it usable or to the customer. Okay, so that is a sort of a agile scrum methodology which is there and which is in the vogue right now, and everyone is moving towards agile. Okay, yeah, so I think more or less we are towards the end of it, and just quickly I'll touch upon that now. What are the kind of skills which is required for project manager? It is sort of these are some of the skills which is required. Okay. Okay, so maybe a little bit I'll also touch upon the AI. We know that now with artificial intelligence there, obviously it is also going to disrupt the project economy also, or project management also, right? So there are some aspects of the project management that will get disrupted, which is like now there will be a sort of a, because of a project, because of the artificial intelligence, you will have a better selection and prioritization, because at times, I mean, organization has several projects, right? And you don't know which project to take up. So that's where the AI, artificial intelligence, will help you to identify which projects to be taken up right now and which will have a better chance of success, right? So that is one thing which will be there, which will help, AI will help the human beings. Okay. Similarly, there will be a good support for project management office because of the AI. It will really help now sort of a project manager or the steering committee or the board now to capture the data better. Okay, so there will be a lot of good monitoring which will be there. There can be a sort of some automation which can be done, and some problems can be anticipated much in advance, and that will help you to control the project much better. Okay, and there will be a lot more compliances for the processes and this one. So there are different projects which are there, different tools are there, different websites are there, which helps you into this. So similarly, it will also help you to do a faster execution, help you to do a better planning, in terms of project scoping, trying to collect collect the data and try to automate as much as possible. Okay, so these are some of the areas where now the project management will get impacted by the artificial intelligence, but it is going to help in the better way. Okay, so virtual project assistants will be there, whereby by just giving the voice command, you can say that, okay, not prepare this status report and maybe send it out to stakeholders, right? So those kind of virtual project assistants may come into picture, so that may lead to redundancy of the project coordinator or documenter kind of a thing, right? There will be advanced testing software which might be there, which will help you to maybe do the early detection of the defects. Okay, and there can be also self-correcting mechanism can be also implemented, so that will result into lower cost and maybe a quicker solution, right? And there will be obviously new role for the project manager, and its role is not going to go away. Okay, it is going to be there, but he has to embrace these changes. He has to learn all this new technology and take advantage of it to ensure that projects are delivered on time and within the prescribed budget. Okay. Yeah, so that's sort of an end of it, and these are some of the different certification which are there. Project management certification. So this is an entry-level certification which helps you to take up the whatever, understand the basic nuances, and then there's more advanced level thing, or maybe I'll say most preferred thing. And then there is a agile certified professional also, and then there is a very higher level program management professional. So as of now in the world, there are only, I think, around 4,000 program management professionals, and then there is even the higher one, which are portfolio management professional, which are just only 1,500, I think, certified professionals are there. Okay, so the such demanding exams are there, because of which very few professionals only clear it. And again, if you clear these certifications, then that's a huge advantage to you. Okay, so that is end of my presentation, and I'm sure all of you got a fair idea about the project management nuances. Thank you very much, and I think we are now open to questions, if any.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful insights. There are certain queries students wants to ask. Well, one by one, I'll unmute each and everybody who has raised their hands.
Sure.
So first, we'll call Shivani Pandey.
Okay.
I'll just unmute her right away. Shivani, you can question right now.
Yes. So, sir, thank you for this wonderful session. So, sir, I'm actually a doctor by profession and I'm employed in pharma. So, my doubts, but I drive a lot of projects on a regular basis because I'm more into research. So, my doubt was, is project management synonymous with product management? I mean, the life cycle that you were stating, can it be synonymous with product life cycle as well? And second question is, what if there is no core team for the product management? Are there third parties who, or vendors who give out these people? I mean, third party, any names that you would recommend or suggest? And lastly, with the reference to agile framework, my only doubt was that if we are doing multiple things simultaneously, don't you think the core committee or the designing committee will be more crammed up with, the workload, because they have to again cascade it to the further departments? And like in your example, you stated analysis, design, code, and testing. I mean, as far as I'm aware, so without coding, testing cannot be done. So won't it be a pressure to the coding team to, complete it in a very cramped up time? So these were my few doubts.
Okay. So first of all, thanks for your feedback. So product management is not same as project management, first of all. Okay. So when you're doing the product management, you might use a project management.
Okay.
Okay. But
yeah,
it's not the same thing. There's a different aspect to it. There is a different kind of a design thinking which is required for developing the product. So just keep that in mind. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Second was if there is a core team is not there, right? What you said, if core team is not there for the product management.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are some companies, depending on your requirement, who actually helps you in the product development. Okay. So depending on the industry or depending on requirement, there are some companies. As of now, I cannot just say it in public domain, but maybe we'll touch base separately. Okay. But depending on your requirement, there will be some companies will help you on that. Okay, and I know, I mean, in the third question was that no, whether if multiple teams are working, then whether it will overlap or no, how it will take care of it, right? So so see, I mean, that's where the agile thinking will come in picture. If you see there, I had mentioned about some of the ceremonies which were there in the agile. Okay, so there you will do that planning. Okay, in that planning you will figure it out that what piece you can do it now, okay, without having the dependency on the other pieces, and then you try to do it in that manner only. Okay, one by one you try to split it on. So there is a lot more thinking which may go into it. Okay, that now what piece can be taken up right now, and only after that some piece will be taken up later. And in agile now it is, see, agile, the cost may be higher, but the value will get delivered quickly. Okay, quickly in the sense you don't have to wait till end of it. So that's where people prefer when they are open to maybe a cost getting expanded or maybe cost getting extended. Okay, so they try to pick up something wherever there is an unknown, they will keep it aside and they will continue with whatever known thing is there. They will complete that thing, then they will revisit again the pending things, and then they'll pick up something now high priority item from their whatever backlog, and then they will again work on those items, and then that way they will keep moving it. So one which cannot be completed in this particular sprint, whatever 2 weeks, 3 weeks sprint, will be again added to backlog. Okay, and then will be taken up subsequently. Yeah. So
Sure, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah,
I hope,
sure.
Shivani, everything is sorted of yours. Now
Yes,
I'll
yes.
call on Mayuk. I'll unmute you. Mayuk, you can
Hi,
question.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Actually, my question is, it's like on planning stage when you find that your risk involved is higher than your cost. And just taking an example of Chandrayaan, Chandrayaan has higher risk and we have higher cost. So what should be the factors which should decide that you should go on with the project? First question is this, and second is I want to take an example of Tata Nano, whereby Mr. Ratan Tata just promised one thing, that I'll give a car of in 1 lakh, taking that project, and they launched Tata Nano, and then just because of one promise they came into huge losses. So what should be the practical parameters when it comes to manage risk and cost?
So, okay, so your first question is about risk. Okay, so now see, when you have a risk, okay, you need to have a risk mitigation plan. Okay, so which we have not covered much in detail over here, but there is a risk mitigation plan which will be there, whereby you can have a 4 type of risk mitigation plan, or I will say risk management plan. Okay, whether you want to mitigate it, you want to transfer it, you want to accept it, or you want to what is the fourth one? Exploit it. Okay, so depending on the kind of a risk, okay, you will go ahead with the particular strategy. Okay, so the risk is high, understand, but benefit is maybe higher. Okay, or maybe see, as I said in the very first slide, the need can be different. Okay, so here maybe India wants to prove that they can also reach to moon, right, and maybe explore moon, right? So that is the ultimate objective. So that's where we are ready to take risk. You getting me? So and then obviously that risk is may have a benefit maybe in a long term, but it is to prove the dominance in that area. Okay, so that is a driving factor whereby we are taking the risk and maybe accepting the risk, or maybe mitigating. Maybe obviously insurance might be there, but we are mitigating that risk in whichever way possible. But objective is to do this, that now to prove the dominance in this area. Okay, so that's why we are going ahead, although the cost will be there. But when you say cost, I mean, we are launching the Chandrayaan maybe at the 1/10 of a cost at what NASA is launching it. Okay, so from that perspective, our cost is much lesser if you want to compare it relatively. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, that the objective of the project is a very different thing, right? Second is about Nano. So you said, yeah, because Ratan Tata promised it. So again, that is a sort of a vision he had, okay, that I want to maybe give a car which now people driving two-wheeler also can go for it. So that is why that was a sort of a project objective. Okay, and he was a project sponsor. So that's where he was ready to take that thing. But maybe the business case which was presented may or may not be right. Okay, so he might have expected whatever huge amount of sales. Okay, but it didn't happen. Okay, so that's where, or maybe the branding was wrong. Okay, that it said poor man's car or something. I don't remember exactly what was his branding, but maybe because of that, the sale didn't happen. So business case might be wrong or communication was wrong. Okay, branding was wrong, which actually resulted into loss. Right. So that is a case depends. So objective sponsor's objective was different compared to maybe a company's objective. Maybe I don't know, but that is how I read it. Yeah.
I hope, Mayuk, your questions are being answered. I'll call upon now Shashi Kumaran to. Yes, Shashi Kumaran, you are there?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
A very good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for the wonderful session.
Great.
My question to you is like, I just wanted to understand what is the difference between program management and project management. That is the question number one.
Okay.
Question number two is like, even though we have taken care of the risk management and the mitigation plan, there are few projects where it has failed even after taking the mitigation plan. So how do we handle such situations?
Okay, so see, project is, as I said, temporary endeavor, okay, whereby you deliver some product, service, or result at the end of it. Okay, so project management is that one. But program management is whereby you have project plus operations. Okay, or you have multiple projects and maybe a multiple operations. Okay, so that is a overall program management.
Okay.
Okay, so that is how program. And when there are multiple programs, it is called portfolio management.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, so hope that answers, right? Yeah. Second question is about you said risk. Can you just repeat your second question?
Yeah, sometimes we do the risk management and we take the mitigation plan as well, but
Right.
still could see the failure of a few projects.
Okay. Yeah. So see, mitigation plan at the time when you prepare the mitigation plan, you will figure it out that what is the cost of mitigating this risk. Okay, say for example, and you will go with that. I mean, just for example, say you have what you say, for example, you have some insurance. Okay, now you have taken insurance that now to cover your whatever risk, right? Or whatever risk, right? I mean, now.
Yes.
Yeah, so now in spite of that, I mean, you have the problem and you have to whatever claim your insurance, right? Or whatever mediclaim or whatever, right? Now now you have tried to cover as much risk as possible. Okay, but if something goes beyond that, you can't do it. You have to accept it, right? So that is how it is. I mean, you have to figure out that what is the cost of mitigating, transferring, or accepting the risk, and accordingly you take a call. You're getting me? I mean, so yeah. So I mean, you can take a whatever for whatever your vehicle or anything. You take a cover of whatever huge amount, but then the premium will not be viable, right? Premium will be maybe more than whatever your vehicle, right? Then it doesn't make sense. So you have to balance it out where the risk will get balanced, and then you take a call.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll call upon Ispita Das right now.
Yeah,
Ispita,
I
you
suggest.
can raise your queries.
So I request all the people who are asking questions, if you can switch on your camera, then that will be great.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. It was an awesome experience with you, sir. I am from a different background, but because of Jaro, I got this opportunity.
Okay.
So my question is that, can you little bit explain what is business case once? And one more thing, when you explain that project, what is a project, you said that time, scope, quality, cost, all are interconnected. Before initiating a project, these four are very important. So on the other hand, when the risk management will come, so for the every project, risk management will come, it will come in between the project, or in any project. Suppose you said that when you are going to find a vendor, maybe you will not get the iron rod or something, then you can change your plan and you go to another vendor. But when we are going to make a plan for a project, everything is finalized, and maybe in this during this project, suppose it will take 3 or 4 months, we will not get any problem. So for every project, risk management will occur or not, sir?
Okay, I think there are multiple questions. Okay, so business case, I'll say that now business case is whereby you are trying to justify that why you need to initiate this project. Okay, so for example, as I mentioned earlier, Chandrayaan, okay, we launched Chandrayaan. It's going to cost whatever huge amount of money, right? Whatever 50 crore, 100 crore, 200 crore. But why we launched it? Because we want to prove our dominance. That is one thing, okay? And second is that we are going to do some research, exploratory work over there, right? So mentioning the reason for that particular project is a sort of a business case. Okay, even in case of say for example Nano, we discussed just now, whereby we said that why Nano was launched, because the project sponsor Ratan Tata had a vision that he want to bring a car which is affordable to whatever lower mass of the country, and he wanted to prove his dominance, and he wanted to say that I'm going to sell huge number of cars. Okay, so because of that, he assumed that why the profit may be less, but I'm going to sell a huge number of cars, and that's why I'm going to be profitable. Okay, so you mentioned in the business case that why you are initiating it. You mentioned the business value you are going to derive out of it. Okay, in
Yes,
that business case, and it is much more detail into it, but that's in nutshell that the reason for initiating the business case. That is what consists of this statement. Okay. You mentioned about this cost, time, quality. That was your question, right? What exactly was it?
all are interconnected.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
so
secondly, that risk management will occur for every project, or it is just a part of any project?
no, so risk management will be there across the project. Okay, it will be continuously monitored right from beginning till end of the project. Okay, and the monitoring and controlling also will continuously happen. So you will continuously keep monitoring it, okay, for any risk. So normally, I basically, there is, again, as I said, there is can take a full session with the risk management, but you can have a different kind of risk for different kind of projects. Okay, so for example, you say that, okay, I'm just talking about the resource only particularly. So resource, I mean, I have a resource. What is the risk? The risk is that, okay, resource might leave. Okay, he might resign and go away, right? So there is one risk. Second is that resource might not be performing well. Okay, I have brought in for whatever reason, but he's not able to perform well. Third is that resource might fall sick. Okay, that is third risk, right? So I mean, there can be multiple risks for each and everything, and you have to monitor it continuously, and or you have to mitigate it continuously, or mitigate or transfer the risk in that manner, so that the project doesn't fail. Okay, so
Yes.
so yeah, so any resource, anything, when you said maybe for a bridge also, if you want to procure then something, then you have to see that now you have multiple vendors. Okay, and you have to put terms in the contract. So procurement management also involves contracting. Okay, because I have just covered one term, but procurement management involves contracting. So what kind of contract should go into it? Okay, and in contract, if contract fails, then what is the penalty you're going to levy with the vendor? Okay, so all those lot more details are there, which I cannot cover now, but that covers everything. So if contractor fails, or if you're not getting a required resources, then your project should not get impacted, and if it gets impacted, then the cost or delay of the project should get recovered from the penalty. Okay, that is a kind of a way it's being taken care of. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
I hope, Bispita, everything would be sorted of yours in terms of queries. Apart from that, calling Ms. Maitri Panchal to raise her queries. Apart from that, requesting Maitri to switch on her video as of now. She's not visible. Yes.
Yeah, hi sir. First of all, I extend my gratitude for explaining this subject very nice in a very smaller span of time. So, sir, my major question is that while we are doing this project management life cycle, so initially before kicking off, there is this part called as project appraisal. We tend to overall analyze the project, that how would it be, like all the cost benefit analysis and everything. So does that form part of just one time activity, or is it a pervasive activity, like during the course of project until and unless it is closed and implemented?
No, so that's very good question. So cost benefit analysis, yes, it is supposed to be done at the beginning of the project. Okay, as a part of a project charter, that how much cost you are going to incur for execution of this project, and what is the kind of a benefit you are going to get out of it. And that is where the ROI is sort of a sustainable ROI, or as per the organization's expectation, then only you will execute the project. So that also again goes into business case. Okay, and once that is done, you will also evaluate, not at the starting, but also towards end or wherever possible. Okay, that whether are you getting the required value or benefit out of it or not. So sometimes, and quite often it happens that now at the midway of the project, you realize that you are not going to get a benefit, because if you continue this project, and that's where the project gets scrapped. Okay, so that is quite often recent. So like, I mean, if I don't know whether you are from Mumbai or not, but like we know that in Mumbai there were some hovercraft. Okay, the hovercraft was started or no, from one location from Gateway India to Navi Mumbai kind of a thing. Okay, it was started, some ferry kind of a service was started because the roads were taking more time. But then at one point of time it was stopped. Why? Because the people were not realizing that now the cost of ticket for this ferry was much higher, and it was not sustainable for the operator to offer it at a cheaper rate now to get the to get all the people travel to it. So basically that cost benefit analysis will be continuously done, and at some point of time it may get dropped, and even sometimes during the project, and sometimes after the project is completed also it may get dropped. Okay, so that is, yeah, continuous thing, I'll say that. And in agile particularly, that is why in agile we do it now, try to deliver value at a certain point of time only, and try to figure out whether we are getting some value or not. Okay, that is what one of the purpose of doing the agile execution. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Maitri, I hope everything has been clear in terms of questions. Apart from that, I have shared a Google form, that is a feedback form, into the group chat, requesting all the learners to fill up that form and reach out to us at any point of time. Apart from that, the next question is from Nityanand. I'm unmuting, requesting Nityanand to switch on his video. Yes.
Hi, sir. Like, thanks for the interesting session.
Okay.
Basically, I have two questions. So the one question is end user satisfaction or successful completion of project. So which need to be given priority first of all, and the second thing is if if it is the end user satisfaction based. Basically, the problem is scope, cost and time, which you mentioned. So if the customer or if the end user is not satisfied based on the successful completion of the project, okay. So the scope is actually the scope is keep on changing, or their expectation is like over a period of time is increasing. So what need to be given priority on that, or like what need to be done, because the waterfall model is getting failed here in this particular situation.
Right.
So here comes the agile. So what we need to focus, either like the satisfaction of the end user or the successful completion of the project.
Okay, so see, that's where we are trying to figure out the goal or objective at the end of it. That should not be the case. Okay, that's where we said when you initiate a project, you set up a project goals. Remember my slide in that whereby I said initiate, now there is a project goals and project objectives has to be defined. So at that point of time only you should define that what is my objective, whether end user satisfaction is my objective or timely completion is my objective. Okay. And when you define also end user satisfaction, you need to have a very quantitative assessment saying that what exactly you say end user satisfaction. My 90% users should be satisfied or 100% users should be satisfied. Okay, so that is a kind of a matrix has to go into project initiation phase, and then you measure it against that, and then you drive your project against that objective, that now for end user satisfaction what is required to be done. So then you get into planning that okay, these three things has to be done, then only my end user will get satisfied, right? So all this, that's where now we, rather than doing this analysis at the end of it, if you do the planning very well, then only you will be able to achieve the successful objective of the project and now able to complete it. So see, timely completion is obviously always nice to have, okay, always desired, okay, but if your objective is not met, okay, then timely completion doesn't matter, okay, because unless until objective, whatever your objective was, end user satisfaction, if that is met, then only your project is completed, right? So then you have to figure out what is your objective and accordingly you drive towards that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I hope, Nityanand, your queries has been solved. Apart from that, the last hand is from Perya Swami. He would be asking question, requesting Perya Swami to unmute himself as well as yes, turn on his camera. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. It was a wonderful session, covering all the broad topics in a very structured way, and a Saturday well spent. So my question is, I'm basically from engineering background, working for a company called ABB, but I heard a lot on the Scrum Master and project management role. I saw you are also certified Scrum Master. So I would like to understand, we are at a very top level, what does this mean and how the space is actually evolving?
Okay, great, Peryasamy, that you're working with ABB. So I think ABB does a lot of projects, I know. So see, Scrum Master, so Agile, Agile involves multiple techniques. Okay, when I say multiple techniques, in the sense there are different methodology within Agile, which is called Scrum, Kanban, different techniques are there. Now, within the Scrum is the most popular, and within the Scrum is the whereby the Scrum Master comes into picture. So there are 3 roles within the Scrum technique. Okay, Scrum Master, Product Owner, and actual team member. Okay, Scrum team member. So there are 3 roles within it, and the Scrum Master is the one which is where we have a certified Scrum Master kind of a certification which is there, and which is very basic thing. Now, Agile is involving in a great manner. There are different kind of certifications which are there. So Scrum Master is a maybe starting point, but I suggest you go for actual Agile certification, which will cover all the roles and will give you a bigger picture rather than just having a certified Scrum Master for you. Yeah. Okay.
I hope Mr. Pereswamy, queries are being cleared. We are not able to hear you, Mr. Pereswamy.
You're on mute.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, thank
So,
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. The second question, the second last question is from Abhijit Ravi, requesting him to speak. Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much. Hi, Viren sir. It's really nice talking, connecting with you and listening on the CAPM and the project management stuff. Just quickly put out the question that currently I'm into lead architect role for mobile domain. I'm looking forward to move into TPM, technical project management. Yeah, roles as for my technical expertise and experience. I'm having around 8.5 years of experience into this domain, and have worked for different geographies and some good clients, some big giants, I would say. So I see opportunities are there in this domain as well. I'm receiving some offers as well around that, but would like to understand your perception to pathway to break into this role. I mean, how to develop that confidence and get ready for this role. Second question, a follow-up on this, is that how do you suggest the preparation for CAPM and PMP certification? Just to give some background on my current professional certification, that I'm already holding a CSM and CSPO, and I'm currently pursuing a general management program from IIM Visakhapatnam. So, and I have been working alongside project managers, product owners, and all those stuff, and a lot more involved in the entire development of different projects that I'm working on.
Okay, got it. Great. So since you are already lead architect, so I'm assuming you will be having at least 10 years of experience or more than that, right? So then you don't need to get into CAPM kind of certification. CAPM is purely for the freshers. Okay, certified associate for project management. It is for fresher only. You should go into PMP only, PMP certification, which requires anywhere between 5 to 10 years, more than 5 to 10 years of general experience. And since you're already lead architect, you can go for that. And you should just maybe enroll for whatever one of the courses. I suggest don't go for online, maybe some of the courses like Simply Learn. Just try to see if you can attend some classroom kind of courses, and then for the PMP particular, because this is required more, or maybe live classes, I'll say that, whereby the instructor is there on the side, I mean, rather than recorded one. And that will really help you. I mean, it should not be difficult. I mean, and they will give you the sort of a pathway to PMP certification, which will be like maybe 3 to 6 months, depending on how much you are able to spend your time. Yeah.
Yeah, some more insights, how do you think I should break into this role? Because certification is a good thing. I mean, we get all the knowledge and all the stuff, right? But breaking into this role, moving to a new organization and taking the responsibilities.
So you see, normally that is one of the challenge which is faced by many people. Okay, that how to get into that. So what you should start doing, or rather my advice to all of you who wants to get into project manager role, is that you start assisting your project manager. Okay, you start saying that, okay, you give me some of your work. So alongside your current responsibility, you start taking some of the work from your project manager and start taking a project coordinator role or project PMO kind of a role. Okay, and you take the responsibility over and above what you're doing. Okay, obviously it will require a lot more effort from your side, but that is a starting point. And once you start doing that, maybe, and then once you also take this PMP certification, it will help you to get into project management role. So that is how it should be. Okay.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. So the last question is from Asit Mohanty, requesting Asit to raise his queries accordingly.
Hello, sir. Hello, everyone. So it was actually a great session. I'm a tech lead in my team, so I'm actually getting into the I'm planning to get into the project management role, which has been also offered to me. So just wanted to, sir, just wanted to check on a few of the things. Lots of things have been cleared now for me. But one thing just I wanted to know is the attrition. So in the project planning, how we actually place this attrition, whether it's a risk management or it's a resource management.
Okay, so yeah, I think it's very, I'll say very practical thing that attrition will be there, right? So you cannot avoid that, and that is one of the risks. I mean, so that in that case, you have to discuss with your manager very candidly, and you have to try to keep whatever some bandwidth, spare bandwidth available. Okay, so either you have to keep your spare bandwidth available, like have maybe one or two people, whatever, depending on the kind of a project. I mean, number of resources there. Try to have some bandwidth, or maybe try to have some additional time. Okay, maybe just keep a buffer in terms of project duration or project delivery. Okay, so that is one thing which you can do. I mean, otherwise you can't do much. I mean, you have to otherwise maybe load some of the activities onto other resource, or maybe you have to borrow resource from somewhere when person resigns. Maybe you have to borrow resource from other project, other group, maybe on the need basis or on the sharing basis. So that is the only way you can do it, and it's very practical thing. I mean, which happens in all the company and all the projects. Yeah, so that's the only way you can do it.
Okay.
I hope your questions has been solved, and thank you, Mr. Biren Parekh, for such a wonderful presentation, plus the boot camp and the sessions that the students and the learners have been learning throughout. Thank you for such a wonderful session. Requesting everybody to switch on their cameras, as we are going to take a selfie from Rupali's end, and Rupali would be giving a vote of thanks to all the learners and the participants, as well as Mr. Biren Parekh, who has given such a wonderful session to all of us in form of project management. Rupali, you can take it ahead. I'm just sharing the screen right away.
Sure, thank you so much, Sonali. So I'll just quickly wrap up by taking a short, small snap of alls, because I've been seeing so many wonderful faces since now. So I would request everyone to please put on your camera. And Sonali, please stop sharing the screen. Biren sir, could I please request you?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. For share. Yeah.
Is it done, Rupali?
No. Just
all right.
Yeah.
I stop sharing. It's okay.
Yes, yes, thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much, sir. So yes, everybody, please smile. Thank you so much. Yeah, there are a few more. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm happy to connect with all on the LinkedIn. Guys, please connect with me.
Same here.
Link of yours, LinkedIn link of yours to all the participants. They're asking for the presentations as well. We're gonna share it on the alumni portal as well as it is available on alumni application even. So you can access all the session on the bootcamp. Every bootcamp we are posting on alumni application, requesting all the learners to download the application as well as register themselves on Jaro applications. All right. Apart from that, sir, there is one more thing that we have come up with, that is an ET program, which Rupali would be assisting regarding the same. Just a second. Rupali, can you take it ahead?
Yes, sure, sure. Thank you, Sonali. So I wish to inform that Jaro is coming up with an advanced certification program in project management and analytics from NITI Mumbai. NITI Mumbai has been ranked as number 7 as per NRF ranking, and now will be known as IIM Mumbai. So learners who wish to explore this program can reach out to us or visit jaroeducation.com. Right?
That's great.
Yeah. And at the end, I would like to conclude it with a vote of thanks. So I thank you all for joining us today at this insightful project management bootcamp. On behalf of Jaro Education and the entire team, I extend heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for your active participation and engagement throughout the session. I would also like to express my sincere appreciation to our guest speaker, Mr. Biren Parekh, sir. So thank you for sharing your invaluable expertise, experiences, and practical insights. Like the way you shared different examples at many points was truly enlightening, and we are grateful for your time and effort in preparing such a thoughtful, provoking session. Last but not the least, my sincere appreciation to all the learners. Your active involvement, insightful questions, enthusiastic engagement truly made this a collaborative and enriching experience. We hope that the knowledge and ideas shared during this event will positively impact your future project management endeavors. We look forward to hosting more engaging and enlightening events in the future. And also, I would like to update you that we are coming up with the product management session also for the next coming days. It would be updated soon, but the tentative date would be of 29. So thank you once again. Have a wonderful day ahead. And also one more thing, I would like to request, follow Jaro Education on social platforms for more such updates, and download Jaro Connect, which is available on Play Store and App Store both. So yeah, thank you everyone.
Requesting all the learners to share. I have already shared the feedback form. Requesting all the learners to fill up that and share it back with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.